How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to be going over my experience inside the military, inside of the Navy. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to me, turn on post notifications to stay updated with all content that I drop. And don't forget to check out my other videos. I post a lot of cool stuff that you might find interesting to yourself. So I've been out of the Navy now for a while. I can't say exactly how long. Let's see, I got out back in February. It's currently October actually. Wow, it's October. So I got out February 17th and now it's October. You do the math, save me from doing it. But anyways, all I'm trying to say is bear with me. My memory isn't super fresh out, so I'm gonna recall what I can and go from there. So let's start off with MEPS. You're gonna have to go to one of your recruiting offices. They're gonna go over everything. You're gonna do all types of heat training, all types of useless stuff you really don't need, but you're gonna go to your recruiting office. You're gonna have some petty officers that help you choose your rate and everything else. And you're gonna need to go to MEPS. You're gonna get a very in detail physical. And once you're finished, you'll get another scheduled date. They'll send you back there from your recruiting office, and then they're gonna send you to boot camp. Boot camp is in Chicago. However, at the time that I joined, it was during the peak of the pandemic. It was just now starting to slope down, and I had to go to Fort McCoy in Wisconsin in order to quarantine for 2 weeks with a bunch of random guys. It was like our own small little division, but Fort McCoy was nice. It was in the dead of winter. It was really, really snowy. I don't think there was a single day in the positives besides one, so we used all of our snow gear every single day, all 3 meals, but it was a bit of an experience. I liked it. It was actually pretty fun. I would go back and do it now if I could. After quarantining for the first 2 weeks, by the way, I almost forgot to mention that as I went to MEPS, I was going in as an intelligence specialist, so as an IS. I know at the time, if you knew me, I wasn't the brightest, so it surprised a lot of friends and family when I was going in as an IS, but I was going in as an intelligence specialist. Anyways, fast forward, I'm in boot camp. I love boot camp. It's a bit of a 50-50. I would say that if I could choose a handful of friends and family to go with me, I would pay money to do it right now to get that experience. Boot camp itself, it really isn't that terrible. It's 2 months long. It's gonna suck. I mean, you're gonna learn to embrace the suck. It gets better towards the end of it. Time flies by. In the beginning, it seems like days take forever, but eventually weeks just fly by. I mean, it goes through in no time. There's tons of stuff you're gonna go over inside of boot camp, a lot of marching, a lot of folding, getting everything super organized. You're in one huge room of about 90 kids. It's this huge rectangle shaped space with a lot of bunk beds. They go from shortest to tallest, usually most divisions around the room. It's okay. It's not as bad as you'd expect it to be. It's a trip to see at night how everyone cooperates with one another. When the petty officers are gone, they get up, they start running around, wreaking havoc. So it's a little interesting. It's definitely something unique to watch, just the way people socialize inside of that type of environment. But boot camp only lasts 2 months. There's a bunch of different positions you can take inside of boot camp, like leadership roles. There's major 5. I can't remember all of their terminology right now, but I know for sure that I was starboard watch, and it made me get a very, very recognizable less amount of sleep than the rest of the division. I was very sleep deprived the entire time of my boot camp, mostly because as a starboard watch, I coordinate watches for night watch, making sure nobody's getting into the compartment or anything. And I'm doing these watches. There's a very unique and specific way that you need to do any data entries inside of this deck log. And unfortunately, after weeks of trying to get all the other sailors inside of my boot camp to understand how to do it, it's very, very hard, and it's really, really easy to mess up and get yelled at. And I end up having to do most of the data entries myself at a certain time at night, which caused me to have to pry into my own personal sleep, and it really got to me over the course of boot camp. That's about it for me though, just sleep deprivation. I'd fall asleep marching, literally. It wasn't that bad. Like I said, I'd go back and do it now if I could choose some people to go with me. After your boot camp, you're gonna be going to your A school, which is gonna help train you on your rate that you picked. Unfortunately, due to some circumstances, I lost my intelligence specialist rate and I had to re-rate. I went ahead and re-rated to an APAC, which is basically like an aviation overall position where an APAC isn't tied into one contract, into one rate. Instead, he visits a bunch of different rates of his choosing inside of aviation, and then he decides after 3 years which one he wants to go with. Or he can get out after 3 years and just that's it. You had a 3-year contract. So if you want to get into the military, but you're not sure exactly what you want to do, check out the PAC rates. That's a really helpful tip that nobody shared with me. Ask your petty officers, ask your local recruiting office about that. Hopefully they have some answers for you. Anyways, as an APAC, I went down to NATC Florida, NATC Florida. I can't remember if it's NATC or NATTC, but it's the aviation school down in Pensacola, Florida. I actually loved it. Florida was great. Out of my entire military experience, I would say Florida is at the top. It's pretty much a picture representation of what the first Top Gun movie was like. I mean, literally, the barracks surround volleyball courtyards made with sand and barbecue pits all surrounding with smoke pits. There's tons to do, all types of activities, not only on the base, but out in the town. There's colleges nearby. Blue Angels are always flying overhead. They do all types of practices and trainings up in the sky. And then on top of that, the food was great. I mean, the food's phenomenal. It's awesome. My situation, I roomed with 2 other people. Most of the time, the rooms weren't full. I was in Florida for about 2.5 months. My week training was only about 2 weeks. So the other time, I was just helping out around the barracks and relaxing, literally. I mean, I stayed up in my room for most of the part, and I did whatever I wanted. It was great. It was honestly my best time in the military by far. This is where it all starts to take a turn. After my Pensacola A school, I had a little 10-day split to go home and take some leave to my family. That was great. I liked that. It was really nice to see my family once again. But then I got sent over to Virginia on a carrier that was under construction. I strongly believe it was probably one of the worst stations that I personally could have got, and it probably is one of the worst stations that anybody could get. My carrier was heavily under construction, wasn't going to see sea for a few years, but when it did, I was going to be getting sent overseas to another country. I'm not sure exactly what I can list due to just how that works, so I'm not going to list too many specifics. But yeah, we were going to go overseas. Our ship was under construction. People were constantly committing suicide. The housing situation was very complicated and very unhealthy, not in a mental way, like literally in a hazard way, breathing in black mold, not enough conditioning units on the ship in order to keep us warm or cold depending on the temperature. It was really bad, and honestly, it was not a great experience. So that's where most of this is going to come down to. As far as the boot camp, the A school, all that, it's pretty easy. It's great. You can have a really good understanding of how it's going to go for you, especially if you do some research into it and see what A school you're going to go to for your rate. You can research everything up to that point. Where you're going to get stationed is a completely different story. That is your entire military experience. I mean, literally, your station, it controls exactly how you're going to view the military. In my case, it was absolutely terrible once I got to my ship. The carrier, it was awful. Not the carrier itself, just the carrier I was on, it being under construction. There's so many things that were just flipped upside down compared to what's normal on most carriers. As an APAC, I will say this, you get cut a lot of slack. You're not held to much responsibility, so that was great. I got to slack off, do what I wanted. I got to see all the rates and really get to enjoy the Navy, get to look around and see. But at the same time, our ship was just very poorly managed. And so that leads me to here. Basically, once you're in, what's really gonna determine you enjoying your time and if you wanna stay in is your chain of command and your station. Once you get in where you get stationed, is heavily gonna control if you actually enjoy the rest of your time in the military and your chain of command. I've heard that the farther west you go from the capital, the bases are a lot less strict and very easy. The chain of commands are very easygoing, but me being very close to the capital, I guess it was just different. Our chain of commands were pretty strict. They were really on you. Most of them didn't want to be there themselves because our ship was a shithole, to just be quite frank. So they made life hell on everybody, really. I mean, nobody wanted to be on that ship. Everyone knew that ship wasn't going to see sea while they were on it. So nobody wanted to be there to begin with. There was just poor management all across. We had a lot of situations. Our ship was on the news for its suicide rate, and it was just awful. I mean, that's the best way to put it. I loved my time in the military up until then. I would have loved to stay in, but with that ship, it was just terrible. And then not to mention, they began forcing the vaccine on us, which I have no views towards, but that was just another thing that kind of dwindled out a lot of people. Not gonna go over the circumstances that ended up getting me out. That's a little bit about that. It was overall just a terrible experience once I got to my station. The key factors are, you're gonna enjoy boot camp and A school. The majority is. It's great. You're gonna embrace the suck. Some of it's gonna be terrible, but later on you're gonna miss it and you're gonna realize how much you enjoyed it. As for your station, really, once you get stationed, that's when it's gonna decide everything. If you're gonna wanna stay in the military, if it's for you and all that. I mean, your chain of command really controls that. The ship itself, the ship life, the carrier, I mean, it's great. They got a huge galley. It's not as terrible as most people make it out to seem. I would say at sea, doing a few underways, it's a little different, but yeah, I mean, it's not bad. it's really not that bad of an experience on the carrier. It's just unfortunately the one that I got stationed on was awful. That's a little bit of my Navy experience. If you have any ideas about what else you want to hear me talk about when I was in the Navy, I'd love to do it. It'd be great. I'll go over a little bit of the rates I got to see. But besides that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, follow me on all social media platforms, including Instagram and TikTok. I'm like to grow the social media platforms right now. Besides that, thank you for watching. Go ahead and tune into my next video. I'll probably do some more videos like this in the near future. Other than that, have a blessed day. And if you have the means to go to college, I would definitely stick with it and go to college. If you're growing up with a household where that's not very likely, maybe not affordable, I think the military could be for you. If you grew up with a rough past and rough childhood, try it out. It's going to give you some responsibility and some skills that you wouldn't have gained otherwise. Besides that, go to college. Make your parents happy. I will say this, that being inside the military really made me who I am today, and I wouldn't have the skills, the social skills, and just the confidence in myself that I have now without being in the military. I mean, now entering business, I would not be nearly as successful as I was if I didn't have military in my background. Other than that, thank you for watching. Have a blessed rest of your day. Check out my other videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.